Yo, how's it going, guys? And welcome back to what is a brand new video. This is part 4. We're halfway through from the predictions videos now, as we have completed the National League South, National League and League 2. This is where it starts to get serious before we go on the big one. That is League 1, Plymouth Argyle's league, for where I think we will finish. But before we go on to Argyle's league, we're going to do the league that we need to be back in as soon as possible as a football club down here in the southwest, and where we rightfully belong. That is the second tier, the EFL Championship. This video, guys, will be my 2026-27 Championship predictions. We will go from the relegation battle to surviving to mid-table to the playoffs, and then automatic promotion back to the Premier League.
Everywhere we go, Argyle and plastic. Everywhere we go, everywhere we go. Stay there, Elton. Fuck off, or I'll fuck you up. Elton, just calm down. Fuck you.
In 24th, I've gone with Watford. Firstly, they have got a manager, in my opinion, who is completely as unconvincing as you can get. I genuinely think he screams as unconvincing as what Sheffield Wednesday had last season with Henrik Pedersen. SEO Dionisi is the Hornets' new manager. Another bold appointment by owner Gino Pozzo, who the club fans want out anyways. And the other thing is, I just can't... Watford cannot get away with appointing so many managers every single season and repeat the same catastrophes and processes season after season and somehow get away with it. 1 year, it will hit them. 1 year, it will hit them. I don't like their window going into this season either. Chak Vadatsi's gone. A massive blow for the Hornets, because I highly rated him. I remember him when he was at the Euros with Georgia. He played really well. Iran Kunda's on the verge of going. Imran Louza is debating whether he stays or not. And if he goes as well, that brings them further into the deep end. All the signings Watford have made are not just completely unproven, but apart from their new keeper, Ravaglia, who they've signed from Bologna, all their players they have signed have come from their sister club, Udinese. And that just screams to me the lack of ambition that this club have got going into this season. I really do not rate them at all going into this season. And this is where I pray to God that Argyle take advantage this season and get promoted to the Championship. Because if we don't go up this season and Watford come down to League 1, that will make life for us quite difficult. And they sack this unproven manager, and then they bring 3 new managers in over the course of the whole season. And 1 year, it will not work for them at all, and it will relegate them. Fans are getting tired with Gino Pozzo's run-in of the club. Even the fan that ripped for 4-4-2 in the magazine I got the other week, even they're not confident. They think a bottom 3 finish is long overdue. And they've brought back Daniel Bachmann as a backup goalkeeper, and that screams utter desperation to me as well. They're even saying that if he gets sacked, they should replace him with Pozzo himself. It's like that he's playing Football Manager. So, no, honestly, I have no confidence for them at all going into this season. So Watford will drop 8 places if they go down this season, because they finished 16th last season. If they do keep Imran Louza and he carries them, that's the only way they stay up for me, to be honest, because the manager looks really unconvincing, as does the hierarchy of the football club, and the leadership is more unstable than trying to stay still on the roller coaster ride at Fort Park. They look shocking going into this season. Watford's come 24th.
Well, you've got till Monday to find out, or it's goodbye first-rate education. Hello, the University of Lincoln.
In 23rd, I have got Lincoln. I have to say, I feel so sorry for them, especially their fans. One of my best mates on Discord's a Lincoln fan, and I feel so bad for the summer that he's had to go through. First of all, Michael Skubala's left to be a snake and join Bristol City. I think that's just a big blow for Lincoln as a whole. The man that got them promoted and well over 100 points for their best season in history, and he just leaves at first opportunity like that. Secondly, one of their star players has gone, Jack Moylan, And can I just say, it's not even just that he's left, by the way. It's not even him leaving Lincoln for a different club that brings it down for me the most. It's the fact he's gone to their promotion rivals, Cardiff, who got promoted with them. I really feel bad for Lincoln fans, and I really hope Lincoln prove me wrong on this, because they are the clear as day bookies' favourites to go down. I really hope they prove me wrong on all this, because it would be brilliant to see a club like them survive and show the Championship that smaller clubs can stay up more so than the so-called established clubs, as they say it. I've got them 23rd because the duo manager leadership that they've got now at least worked behind the scenes behind Skubala in their promotion and the last few seasons where Lincoln have been a really good side. And the fact that I think they'll give it a huge go this season as well, regardless, because, well, it's their... How many years is it they've last been in the second tier? Quite a long while. I think they'll do exactly what Wycombe did when they went up and they came 22nd. I think they will be strong at home, in all fairness, but I do think they will struggle on the road. And they are my prediction to be bottom of the away form table by May. And Watford's my tip to be bottom of the home form table by May. Moylan going to Cardiff is rotten. Absolutely rotten. It just screams an absolute FU to him leaving, doesn't it? After everything he's done for the club. They won't come bottom. I am not backing them to come last, because at least they've got a duo managership that worked behind the scenes of Michael Skubala's promotion side. Chris Cohen and Tom Shaw, that's who's in charge of Lincoln this season. I also hope they prove me wrong, especially the Imps, because one of their players is one of Argyle's legends in Sonny Bradley. So I'd love to see Lincoln stay up and prove me wrong on this factor as well. But I do think it'll be too much for them this season. Lincoln, 23rd.
We're going to win and we're going to go to the Championship, and then we're going to...
And then in 22nd, I've gone with Portsmouth. And no, this is not with bias. I'm not sure if John Mousinho will stay during the course of the whole season. Some fans I know from Pompey are a little bit sceptical of that going into this season, because they're worried Mousinho might leave them. As much as I know that he adores Pompey and he loves the place and all that, and I know the Pompey fans adore him. He got them promoted for a reason. I don't know if he's going to continue the trend of managing with one of the smallest budgets in the league, and other clubs will give him a chance to compete. My other reason being is that the 2 seasons they've been in the Championship, they've looked dead and buried, but the January transfer window, as much as it's really important when it happens, the January transfer window has kept them up both times. It really could get bumpy for them. And also, last season, I know they went on a brilliant run at the end of the season to keep them up, but they still had the worst goal difference out of anyone last season in the Championship, excluding Sheffield Wednesday. And that does worry me for Pompey. And apart from Wednesday's final day victory last season, Fratton Park was the only ground that Sheffield Wednesday won away from home at, and it was the worst Wednesday side I've ever seen. I do think Pompey, unbiasedly, will struggle. To be fair, I don't mind their midfield, because it's John Swift, Marlon Pack and Ibu Adams, but they have lost Andre Dazelle this summer transfer window, and I do think that's a big blow for them. I think he's a very, very underrated player, and I do think that will be a big miss for them. But elsewhere, though, I'm just not quite convinced from them. I think they lack creativity up front as well, because Colby Bishop wasn't the same striker as he was the season before, and he's been linked with going back to League One this season. Us being one of the clubs to sign him, because they've been going after Bim Peppel from us, which hopefully doesn't happen, because I'll be fuming if that happens, obviously. Because, yeah, they're our second biggest rivals, and if I see Bim Peppel moving to them, I'll obviously lose my head. It looks like their number one striker is going to be Marko Milovanovic, who they've signed from Almiera. Their right back, Terry Devlin's been linked with a move to Wrexham as well, as far as I'm told. So Zach Swanson will probably be their starting right back. I'm not convinced on Pompey going into this season, and I just don't think they can keep getting away with relying on January for a third season in a row to keep them up. Obviously, the last 2 seasons, it's worked brilliant for them, and that's why Pompey are still in the Championship going into this season. But I'm not sure if they can get away with it this season. This was tough because it wouldn't surprise me if Pompey finished 21st or 20th or 19th or even 18th again like they did last season. My 22nd and 21st are really tight, by the way. I couldn't choose the order between either of them. I think home will be their fortress this season, Fratton Park, and that's the only way they stay up for me, is if they make Fratton Park a fortress again. I do think it will be bumpy for them, and I think they narrowly go down. And I know this sounds like I'm saying it with my heart, being a Plymouth fan, but I do think they struggle this season. I do think they're in trouble this season, and I do think they are in not the greatest of positions going into this season either. But it could go either way. Bias aside, it could go either way. Portsmouth to come 22nd.
Richard, my name.
Yeah.
Hello, Richard, my name. What do you do, Richard?
Painting and decorating.
Painting and decorating. Yeah. Fucking nice of you to turn up.
In 21st, I have gone with Blackburn, a club that is abundantly clear as day sinking ship going into this season. Last season again proved why they are a sinking ship at the moment. This was really tight. I think Blackburn versus Pompey will go on the final day on who goes down. This was so unbelievably close. As far as I'm aware, I think Blackburn are the bookies' second favourites to go down behind Lincoln, and it's no surprise why. Tony Mowbray's Blackburn's manager going into this season. I think that's a big positive for them, and he knows the club inside out. The only disadvantage to that is whether Mowbray continues his dreadful form that he showed at West Brom last season that nearly sent the Baggies down. But because of the years he has been at Blackburn, I think that only just keeps them up. And only a few years ago, he got Sunderland into the playoffs for the Championship. So therefore, I do trust Mowbray on that perspective. It's whether Tony Mowbray can be an improvement from Michael O'Neill's saving grace from last season, because Michael O'Neill kept Blackburn up at the end after Valerian Ismail's disastrous time last season in Lancashire, which obviously was one of the contributing factors to why Blackburn nearly went down, of course. To be fair, I get why a lot of people are backing them to go down, because last season they would have gone down if it wasn't for Leicester's points deduction. So I do understand that perspective as well, hence why I also think they'll be down there. But I have to say, I don't think they will be as bad as people will think. That might come back to bite me, but again, that's why I think it'll be really close between them and Pompey. In comes Jayden Fevrier from Stockport, which I have to say, I quite like that signing, to be honest. But I have to say, where I think Blackburn will struggle the most this season is in midfield. If they do stay up for this season, then I think next season really will hit them and they get relegated. So this season, I only think they'll go down a position by one position. So, like I said, I think it'll be a slow sinking ship, but I won't be surprised if they're in the bottom three. But I'll back them, only just. Blackburn come 21st.
Hello and welcome to Take Me Out. No like it, no like it.
In 20th, I've gone with Bolton. I have to say, if it wasn't for Michael Skubala leaving Lincoln, Bolton might have been in my bottom three. The only thing that keeps Bolton up for me is, firstly, the manager, Steven Schumacher. Secondly, the other thing that keeps Bolton up for me is their home form. I think they will be really strong at the Reebok this season. They will try their best to make it a fortress. Like Lincoln, though, I do think they'll really struggle on the road. They've had a shocking window, Bolton, and that's the only reason why they are much lower than what I thought I was going to predict them back in June. I haven't been impressed with Bolton's window at all, to be honest, especially after the last few weeks where Bolton had a pre-season game. Steven Schumacher then said in his interview about a player that he wanted to sign, and he said publicly, we cannot afford him. So that therefore screams to me that Bolton are 100% going to be in a scrap. The gaffer and the home form is ultimately what keeps Bolton up for me. Hypothetically, I can also see happening, apart from their August, because I think they can beat Preston and Lincoln at home. Apart from their August, I can see Bolton, hypothetically, have quite a very rough start to the season. They end up bottom by Christmas, or 23rd by Christmas. Their fans are losing the plot, or impatient and they're really worried that they're going to panic, they're going to get relegated, but then they have a really good January transfer window, and that's what saves them. They're also crying out for a striker and a winger, which Bolton haven't been backed for at all across the whole window. I'm not sure if I can trust Thierry Gale, Dalby and McAtee as the front three going into the rest of the season. So I do think they will get their striker and potential extra winger in the January window, and Shuey being there and the home form that I reckon they'll generate over the course of the season will limp them over the line. They look much stronger in midfield and defence. Ruben Rodriguez is a brilliant player. He's got 2 clubs promoted in the last few years, firstly Oxford and now Bolton, of course. I do think the midfield is quite strong with Ethan Erhahon as well and Xavi Siemens. The defence isn't too shabby either. I do rate the fact that they got Ben Davis in from Rangers and a new right back called Gaiska Larazabal. That's it. We'll see what he's made of this season as well. But like I said, over the course of the whole season, they stay up for me because I trust Shuey to get Bolton over the line. I know in the year he left us to join Stoke, he still got Stoke over the line anyways. And the course of the whole season, he is a proven championship manager, Shuey. So this will be his test on his first full season with the same club, because I can't see him snaking off to another club, I'll be brutally honest. I'll be very surprised if he does this time. Will it be easy without Cozy Dewberry? No, it will not. Will it be easy without Mason Burstow? No, it will not, as he's gone to Sheffield Wednesday. But they should secure survival, and I do think they will be up for it this season. First season back since 2019. Bolton in 20th.
Hello, leader. We're about to go dancing. I'm going to do the round dance.
In 19th, I have gone with Preston. At first, I thought they'd be the same old mid-table mediocrity, or as how Preston fans call it, finishing around 14th, their spiritual home in the second tier. They are in trouble going into this season. I know I said the same thing this time last season, and I got proven wrong, and they finished in 14th, like they say, their spiritual home. But this time, really, I do think they are in trouble. They've lost their star midfielder, who's gone to Wrexham. I have to say, I don't think they've replaced him either. I don't rate their midfield at all going into this season, apart from Alfie Devine. The only reason I haven't got them going down is because I think there will be 5 teams worse than Preston by the end of the season. Their attack's a bit better, to be fair, with Callum Lang, Lano Bergzorg, even Votus Majic might be going as well. Defence isn't exactly too shabby with Lewis Gibson and Thierry Small, and then you've got Daniel Iverson in goal, but that blow to Wrexham is a blow, and when I say it's a blow, I really think it's a blow. I've got them 19th this season, which means they drop 5 positions from 14th to 19th. North End should continue to punch above their weight, but may struggle to avoid a 5th bottom half finish in 7 seasons with infrastructural limits, plus the exits of Dobbin, for example. Dobbin's not there anymore either, and then, yeah, of course, Ben Whiteman going to Wrexham. I don't think they'll go down anyways because they usually languish in mid-table mediocrity, but they look depleted going into this season. I do think they're in trouble going into this season, and there's 18 other clubs who I think look in a much better position than Preston, but also 5 clubs worse. So yeah, Preston to come 19th.
Because, are you a parking ticket because you got fine written all over you?
In 18th, I've got CHARLTON. In another season, if 6 clubs weren't in a worse position than them, I probably would have backed them in the bottom 3. And I know this season they must make sure they deal with the pressure of not dealing with second season syndrome after fantastically staying up last season. Have to say, I don't mind their team. Nathan Jones is a championship proven manager, as we all know. Have to be honest, if Nathan Jones did snake them off though, CHARLTON would be in my bottom 3 by now, but they're not. The 6 clubs I have lower than them are in a much worse position, in my opinion, than CHARLTON are. I actually don't mind CHARLTON's transfer business. Yes, I do think they lack creativity up front, but I'll tell you what, defensively, they are really, really strong. and very, very underrated at the back, in my honest opinion. Especially when you've got a keeper like Thomas Kaminski in goal, who I highly rate. On top of that as well, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong on this, guys, I'm pretty sure Charlton had the 6th most clean sheets out of anyone in the Championship last season. And because they're in the top half for that alone, that's how much I highly rate them at the back. The players that have gone from Charlton as well, I don't think they will miss that much. Obviously, Alex Mitchell's gone to us. Thank you, Charlton. Macaulay Gillespie's gone to Bradford. And I don't think they'll miss either of them because of Lloyd Jones and Amari Bell, who I think are both extremely underrated players. Lloyd Jones I'm a bit biased on because he's from Plymouth and he supported Argyle when he was a kid. And he's been a backbone in Charlton's team the last few years. Up front, Lyndon Dykes has gone to Millwall. They won't miss him much, in all honesty. And then in return, they've brought in Danny McNamara from Millwall. Attack is where I think they're weakest, though. But they've responded to that by bringing in proven Championship players. Carlon Grant from West Brom and Milenik Ali from Luton, who was at Pompey for bits last season. I don't like him because he's a former Exeter player, but that screams to me that Charlton are doing just enough to keep them in the Championship for another season. And I do think they're severely underrated, to be honest. My worry for Charlton will be whether they don't improve on staying up this season for next season for 27-28. So, yeah, we will see what happens, but I trust Charlton. I do rate their defence a lot, and that is what will keep the Addicts up in the first place for me. They finished 19th last season, so they improved by 1 position in my predictions. So they finished 18th in my predictions, only by 1 position, but they will happily take that for a 3rd season in the Championship. Last season was also a fantastic achievement for them because they have got back-to-back Championship seasons for the first time in a decade, given how much of a rotten mess their club was prior to that. They did get in the Championship in 2019-20, but they went straight back down and then struggled to get out of League One after that. The Addicts in 18th.
Fucking hell. Hey! Hey! Have a fucking word with him then, ref! Hey!
In 17th, I have Sheffield United. In my opinion, Chris Wilder is the most overrated manager in the league. By a mile, by a mile. Yes, I know in seasons prior he was brilliant as he's got Blades to the Premier League and of course had that wonderful 2019-20 season, of course. But I think he is past it, if I'm going to be brutally honest. Also, I think Blades have had a shocking window, arguably one of the worst in the league, in my opinion. One of their strongest midfielders, Andre Brooks, has gone to Norwich. Big blow for the Blades, firstly. Secondly, there is growing unrest between the fans and the board, and there's growing unrest with the owners as well, and I think that's going to start to get toxic at times for Blades. Gus Hamer is on course to leave as well, to go back to his former club, Coventry, which would be another blow for Blades, and their midfield is going to look so severely rank. For me now, the best players Blades have left are Michael Cooper, our former legend, and Harrison Burrows. And the mixed reception at the football club all started with last season anyways, when Ruben Sellers was their manager, and they started absolutely horrifically. I won't be surprised if they start horrifically again this season. Even with Wilder coming back last season, they finished 13th. A really disappointing season from Blades last season, especially when I predicted them 5th. They had a very underperforming season. If they had the right signings, I would have put them so much higher in the table, maybe challenge for playoffs, but I really don't see it. I mean, 4-4-2 have them 9th, and I honestly think they are a long stretch away from that, I'll be brutally honest, especially given how strong the Championship is this season with a bags of quality, which I don't think Sheffield United have, to be honest. They've lost a lot of that quality in the window, especially in midfield with Andre Brooks and Gus Hamer. And they've been so quiet as well. All they've brought in is Donovan from Brentford and Matt Doherty from Wolves. And the strategic compatibility between the owners and Chris Wilder is in doubt as well. And that's where I also think they'll seriously underperform again. So I've got them to drop 4 places. They were 13th last season, and this season I think they'll be 17th in what I reckon will be a season of growing unrest and toxicity between the fans, the owners, and Wilder. Sheffield United in 17th.
Where have you been?
Well, I've been all over this week, but, you know, my favourite place
I've been to Stoke-on-Trent. Oh yeah, to Stoke-on-Trent.
In 16th, I have Stoke. Lewis Baker may have gone, but they've brought in Ethan Galbraith from Swansea in his replacement, which I think, to be fair, is a very good signing from the Potters. But once again, just as they've done for so many years now, the last few seasons, Stoke will be mid-table mediocrity, in my opinion. They don't have the momentum to be in the top half of the table at all, but they'll be well clear of the relegation zone at the end of the day because they will get the results when it matters. And also, Mark Robins is their manager. There's no way I can see a manager of his calibre take them down to the bottom three at all. But it's only one place higher than where Stoke finished last season, which was their usual spiritual home in the Championship in 17th, and 16th would be almost no different to that. Hardly any improvements I see from Stoke this season, just the one table position, but that's it. Mark Robins being their manager, though, is the only reason why I think they will pip Sheffield United to 16th place, but I am fully expecting another season of mid-table mediocrity for the Potters from Staffordshire. Obviously, they're hoping to end 8 seasons of unresting finishes between 14th and 18th. 28 points from the last 32 games is not upwards momentum at all. So they have to fix their momentum, mentality and attitude problems if they want to climb the table and break into that top half. And I still don't see it from Stoke, given how strong the Championship honestly is this season. So the Potters come 16th.
What is Swansea? Is it an animal?
In 15th, I've gone with Swansea. This was a really hard team for me to call because it wouldn't surprise me if they finished in their spiritual home from the last 2 seasons, which was 11th place. And to be fair to Swansea, Vitor Matos, I do think, is a very underrated manager. I do think he's very good. But will that trend continue into this season? I'm not sure. Obviously, Zan Vipotnik was the league's top scorer last season. So if Swansea do keep him, that'll be huge because Southampton and West Ham have not stopped chased after him all summer. And I do think Vipotnik is on the verge of leaving to go to Southampton, so it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. But if they do keep hold of him, it will be huge. But just because of how strong the Championship is this season, I don't think Swansea will have quite the season of the last 2 seasons. So they drop 4 positions from 11th to 15th. But there's no way they will be in a relegation battle. But I don't think they'll have enough to be in the playoff battle either. Other YouTubers I know have actually got Swansea as one of their dark horses this season. And to be fair, I kind of see why. Especially if they do keep hold of Vipotnik. They brought in Ross Stewart as one of their new strikers, which I have to say is an excellent signing for Swansea. And I think this is the sort of club where Ross Stewart can make it properly his home after being promoted with Sunderland from League One and then hardly getting any game time with Southampton. So I do think this club is perfect for Ross Stewart. However, Ethan Galbraith has gone to Stoke and Liam Cullen has gone to Leicester. I do think that is a bit of a blow for Swansea. If they do finish in the top half, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Keeping hold of Vipotnik, if they do, will be huge, but I do reckon he will go. And if he does go, no wonder I've got them 15th. But I will say, I think 15th to 12th will be really tight and could go in any order. I've got Swansea to come 15th.
Not even Birmingham, actually. Dudley. Ni tipsy, you know. Off the A4 1 2 3.
In 14th, I have got West Brom. Again, just like Swansea, I think this could go one way or another. They have massively proved me wrong, though, over this whole summer business, if I'm going to be brutally honest, because back in June, West Brom were one of my early tips to get relegated to League One and one of my early tips to be the next gigantic football club to play in the 3rd tier and then immediately get promoted like Birmingham did and Wolves did, for example. But I have to say, the team and manager doesn't look too bad as I thought it would be, to be honest. So I've moved them up over the course of this summer, to be brutally honest with you. So I actually don't mind the Baggies' team. I genuinely thought I'd have them in a relegation scrap after last season's 21st place finish. In and around 20th, 19th, 21st, maybe even going down. But now I don't see it, to be honest, because their transfer business hasn't been too shabby, I'll be honest. But given how disastrous last season was for West Brom and how financially stricken they were in, they got a points deduction as well. I don't see them hitting the ground just yet either. Like, there's no way I see them being in a playoff race, given how disastrous last season was. So this season, I do think will be a rebuild for the Baggies. So mid-table seems like a safe bet from that perspective. And James Morrison's a club legend for West Brom. So I think he'll use that Baggies passion to get them have not a too shabby season, to be honest, and stay well clear of the relegation battle. I have to say, though, they do need a right winger because Jed Wallace has gone to Bristol City, and I do think that's a blow for the Baggies. Josh Madger has also left the club as well. In comes Jimmy J. Morgan from Chelsea and Connor Townsend from Ipswich. Not too bad from the Baggies, to be brutally honest with you. I don't mind their team. Obviously, they no longer have Alex Palmer because he went to Ipswich, but now their number one keeper's Max O'Leary, who was, I thought, extremely underrated at Bristol City. And I don't think West Brom have a bad keeper in him of his calibre and quality. But they're linked with signing Issa Kabore from Manchester City. So if West Brom pull it off, I don't think that'll be too bad from them, to be honest. And I have to say, I've been massively proved wrong from this, like I said, all across this summer. But I really like their midfield as well in Alex Mowat, Jason Malumbi and Isaac Price. Up front, they have Mickey Johnston on the left and Jimmy J. Morgan up front. But they do need a right winger if they want to climb the table, in my opinion. They do need a right winger to replace Jed Wallace. West Brom to come 14th. Got them to improve by 7 positions. And then in 13th, wrapping up the bottom half of the table, I have Cardiff, who will by far do the best of the 3 promoted League One clubs. Cardiff, over the course of this whole summer, have kept hold of their entire team from last season that got them promoted in the first place. Secondly, the bulk of that squad was also the same team that got them not just mid-table in the 23-24 season under Errol Bulot, but also the season that got them relegated in 24-25. But I do think they just had the wrong manager, in my honest opinion, and that's what sent Cardiff down in the first place. At first, I didn't think that because I thought Cardiff would rot for one season in League One, but they proved me wrong. They immediately went back up and kept the majority of their team, and fair play to them on that. That's why they're back in the Championship straight away. And now I expect them to consolidate in mid-table, to be brutally honest with you. So that just shows the difference in predictions can make, because I under-predicted Cardiff last season in League One in 9th, and I was proved wrong. They came 2nd. I had a stinker. This season, I think they will be mid-table and they'll have a fine season. So now it's down to them on whether they can follow my prediction on that, basically. They've also signed Jack Moylan from fellow promotion club Lincoln, which I think is such a steal for Brian Barry Murphy's side. What a signing that is for Cardiff, and what a blow that is for Lincoln. So another reason why Cardiff, in my opinion, will by far do the best out of them, Lincoln and Bolton. A lot of experiences in that squad as well, as they know the Championship with players such as Perry NG, Yusuf Salic, Ruben Colwill. The list goes on. They've signed Nathan Trott permanently, who in my opinion was League One's best keeper last season, and I reckon he is ready to make that step up in the Championship. The fans reckon they will be mid-table and consolidate in a tough league. And that's what I reckon they'll do, to be honest with you. And my bold shout is that I've got them to finish above their arch rival Swansea, which Cardiff fans will love this prediction for, and Swansea fans obviously will hate this prediction for. And fair enough, that's what rivalries are at the end of the day. I know I'm not a fan of their owners one bit, and that's why I under-predicted Cardiff last season in League One. And it is easier to trust Brian Barry Murphy than it is to trust Cardiff as a structural entity, and their limitations may restrict progress. But there are some exciting baby bluebirds on show. You can expect entertainment, if nothing else. And that's the other thing, by the way. There will be guaranteed goals from this Cardiff team. And I mean a lot of goals. A lot of games will be high scoring as well, in my opinion. So there we are. I do think Cardiff will be fine this season and have a very solid season to finish and consolidate in mid-table. They've hardly signed anyone other than Jack Moylan, such a steal from Lincoln. But they've also hardly lost anyone. Except for Ryan Winsell, who's gone to MK Dons. But other than that, it means nothing to Cardiff, because the majority of that squad is still there from last season, and to a certain extent the 2 seasons before as well. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. And they'll take advantage of other clubs' misfortunes as well. Cardiff to come 13th.
Pete Doherty wears them, actually.
Pete Doherty's butcher wears them.
Oh, I forgot you're a comedian as well as a cab driver.
In 12th, I have got QPR, who have made 15th place at their spiritual home the last 2 seasons in the Championship. And this season, I think it'll be no more. Now I think they will improve. They are one of my dark horses to break into the top half this season, QPR. I don't think they've had a bad transfer window either. They brought in Tariq Lamptey, which is a brilliant signing for the Championship. I remember his time in the Premier League with Brighton. He was such an underrated right back. I think QPR have got a quality signing there in Tariq Lamptey. Brilliant signing from the Loftus Road West London club. However, they have lost Sam Fields to Norwich, which I think is a bit of a blow for them, if I'm going to be brutally honest. But other than that, I think QPR look quite comfortable. Last season, QPR had quite a bizarre season. They would go and win games 6-1 and then also lose games 7-1. So that's one thing they do need to work on, is their ability to stop conceding. But at the same time, they also need to score more goals as well, which I'm confident they will do, to be fair. In all fairness, QPR played like a top half side on many metrics last term. Failing short on finishing and performance against the very best in the league, as they proved last season. Yet as key men attract interest, a minor drop-off I do think will be hard to avoid from them, in my opinion. So I do think they'll leave their spiritual home from the last 2 seasons, which was 15th in the Championship, and they improve by 3 positions and they come 12th. However, I must say, I think the points gap between 12th and 11th will be a bit of a gap, if I'm going to be brutally honest with you, because 11th upwards, I'm expecting to be a playoff battle. But I trust Julian Stefan. I think he's a very underrated manager, but I don't think it'll be enough to climb further in the table. QPR to come 12th.
You're probably thinking, my boyfriend said this was a superhero movie, but that guy in the red suit just turned that other guy into a fucking kebab.
In 11th, I have gone with Wrexham. This is one prediction where I feel is going to be absolutely bang on, or it's going to be an absolute generational stinker. But especially with the amount of financial backing, money and investment that Wrexham have behind them under Ryan Reynolds. I've got them 11th because the 10 teams I have ahead of Wrexham, I think will do better, to be brutally honest. And Wrexham miss out on the playoffs as a result of that as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they do get the playoffs though, and I'm proven wrong as a result of this. And I also wouldn't be surprised if this season's one of those where they are like, I don't know, 6th or 7th for the majority of their season, or 8th. And then by the time the big run-in comes in April and May, they have a horrific run of form and they drop out. This was a really hard prediction for me to do, because I wouldn't be surprised if Wrexham finish higher, but I'm going to go 11th for Phil Parkinson's side. They've hardly lost anyone either, so this prediction really might come back to bite me. And they have just signed Preston star player in Ben Whiteman. This is my other bold shout. I think if Wrexham finish 11th by the end of this season, Phil Parkinson will resign as manager after all the years he's given from them, and Wrexham bringing a brand new name of a manager that everyone is surprised and also unsurprised about, and they have a much better season next season after this season. They've also brought in Danny Imre from Crystal Palace alongside Ben Whiteman. I'm just not sure, no matter the amount of amazing years he's given Wrexham the last couple of years, I'm not sure if Phil Parkinson's going to be the right man for them this season, despite the togetherness that that club does show. I also think they might be a little hungover from how brilliant they were last season, because it was one of the best they've ever had in history. They established themselves as the best team in Wales, and they're well positioned to push for the Premier League. Not just for this season, but in the foreseeable future as well. That's also why I've got Wrexham to come 11th, is that in a few years' time, I definitely see this club being in the Premier League with the money they have got behind them. Same with Birmingham. But I just don't think this season is the season that Wrexham will be ready. And I do have them to drop 4 places from 7th to 11th. I'm happy to be proven wrong. This prediction will either come down to bite me or it will be spot on. But we will see. But I'm going to back it. I've got Wrexham to come 11th.
Can you hear a Preston sing? I can't hear a fucking thing.
When people now ask me if I like football, I say yes, I do like football, but not Burnley. Burnley can fuck off.
In 10th, this fan base is going to hate this prediction. I have got Burnley. My main reason is I am not convinced on Nicky Hayen at all as their new manager. Obviously, Scott Parker's no longer their manager, and Burnley must have felt behind the scenes that they needed a fresh start. He's had no experience in this league whatsoever, Nicky Hayen. So Burnley will struggle, in my honest opinion, and I do think they'll be one of the league's biggest underperformers, especially given where the bookies have got them. The only thing that will get Burnley into the top 8 for me will be whether they solely rely on their parachute payments over the course of both of these windows. I'm not convinced on them at the slightest, especially when you've got money-grabbing clubs that are going to be up and around there, like Birmingham and Wrexham, and clubs that are going to push on to be so much better, like Middlesbrough, Norwich, Millwall, Derby, with the rumour Saudi takeover they could be having. Burnley, I think, are in for a much tougher season than they are going to anticipate, and that's why I've got them in 10th. Esteve is gone, huge loss for them. Jadon Anthony's gone to Brentford. In my opinion, huge loss for them. I also think the attack is where Burnley will struggle the most as well. I don't know where they are going to provide goals this season. Leslie Ugachukwu has gone to Galatasaray, and the player that they did sign from Benfica, Florentino, they brought him in just to sell him immediately to Ipswich. And yes, I do think they're in a much worse position than both Wolves and West Ham in terms of coming down from the Premier League. The Clarets, to be fair, in strong points, do have 9 players who are key to their 24-25 promotion. Among them, eye-catching midfield man, Hannibal Medjbury. But here's the thing. 24-25 was a much weaker championship, especially compared to the season before, and that benefited teams like Burnley, Leeds and Sunderland. I don't think it will be the same for Burnley this time out. Burnley to come 10th. In 9th, I have gone with Birmingham. This was really hard for me to do because they have actually pulled off some good business, such as bringing in Dale Fry from Middlesbrough and James Beadle from Brighton, who of course was the keeper behind Sheffield Wednesday's very good 2024-25 season under Danny Roll. And to be fair to Birmingham, that team does definitely scream playoff material. Obviously, last season I overhyped them and I had them to win the league because I thought their summer business when they went up from League One was unreal, and it was the best team I had seen in third tier history, who I thought would do the next step up. And this is a club who have ambitions to be in the Premier League in a few years' time, especially with all the money Birmingham have behind them as well. So like I said, this prediction could still come back to bite me. I'm going to be honest, and they might not like this opinion, Birmingham fans. I'm not sure if Chris Davis is going to be the right manager taking them forwards, because I do think they can do better than him, to be honest. Back in June and end of May, Birmingham were linked to bringing in Thomas Frank as their new manager. Thomas Frank. Had they brought him in, playoffs, absolutely no-brainer, and maybe even autos, to be honest with you, because that is the perfect sort of man that can take Birmingham to the next level, especially with the Premier League quality and experience that Thomas Frank has had with Brentford. But there is one thing they do have to do regardless if they do want to be the next level, which is at least the playoffs, let alone automatics. Fix their away form. Birmingham's away form last season was absolutely horrendous. What saved Birmingham's season was their home form, because they are an absolute fortress at St Andrews, and that's continuing this season would not surprise me in the slightest. I can see Birmingham being in 6th, 7th or 5th, similar to Wrexham, in months like March, April, but then they have a terrible run of form and then it goes to the final day. Birmingham mess up on the final day and they're picked on the final day and they finish 9th. That's the only reason and main reason I've got them to come 9th, and I just do think the other 8 teams I have ahead of them have just an extra bit of quality to pip them to those playoff places. Birmingham finished 10th last season. I've got them 9th this season, so only a 1-place improvement. But This was a toughie. This was a toughie of a prediction because I wouldn't be surprised if they get the playoffs in the slightest, and I still rate their team highly. I've got Birmingham to come 9th. In 8th, I have Bristol City, who in my opinion have had the best summer business out of absolutely anyone. They have had an elite transfer window, Bristol City, and massively improved from them, considering the absolute mediocre and toxicity that showed towards the owners, the Lansdowns, towards the end of last season. As the season before, Bristol City got playoffs and finished in 6th, but last season they finished back in mid-table where they didn't want to be, and their fans will now feel they are back to square one again after finishing last season in mid-table. 12th they finished, so I've got them to finish 4 positions higher. And yes, I expect them to be in the top half again. If they didn't make all these signings, then Bristol City would be in bottom half, in my honest opinion. But Skubala's proven me wrong. It now depends on whether Michael Skubala can make that step up from Lincoln to Bristol City. But the signings he's brought in are very, very convincing, in my opinion. Sam Tickle as their new number 1 from Wigan. Pains me to say, but Laurent Talai from Plymouth, who is going to be one of their star men up front. Dom Ballard from Leyton Orient. The amount of goals that Bristol City have brought in to be their strike force in a duo partnership between Laurent Talai and Dom Ballard from Leyton Orient shows the quality they seriously have up front. Jed Wallace comes in from West Brom. That team is really good. The best transfer window out of anyone so far, in my opinion, Bristol City. And that's also why they sneak into the playoffs for me. In 7th, I have gone with Derby. They were 6th. I'll have to say this now, and Derby fans will like to hear this, but I did have them 6th. But then I saw Middlesbrough's transfer window, and that's the only reason why Derby are not 6th. They get the playoffs for me because of one man, John Eustace. John Eustace is a superb manager for this level. He showed it in the first half of his time at Blackburn and also at the beginning of his stages at Birmingham. And that just shows the quality he has to be a top-level championship manager. And then the minute he moved to Derby, he has not looked back. Kept them up in their first season back in the championship. Last season, they improved significantly, finishing 8th place, only just missing out on the playoffs on the final day. I really trust the gaffer in Eustace. I think he's such a good manager, and Derby get playoffs for me as a result of that as well. They've also retained their star midfielder from RB Salzburg, Bobby Clark, who I think is a brilliant player, definitely championship material, and quality to show that Derby can go and push for those playoff places. They've also brought in Charlie Taylor from Southampton, again, decent signing from Derby, in my opinion. They finished 8th last season. I've got them to finish 1 place higher this season in 7th. The only reason they ain't in my top 6, the 6 teams I have ahead of Derby, I think will be the 6 strongest teams in the league, and I think they show more depth, more creativity, and more quality than the team Derby have. However, I ain't underestimating the team that the Rams do have, because John Eustace is such a brilliant manager and he will show togetherness in that club to put them in those playoff places. Derby comes 7th.
You're not gonna win!
In 6th, I have gone with Millwall. I highly rate their team, and of course last season they finished 3rd. But I just think because the championship is stronger this season, I do think Millwall will fall a few places, and other teams I have ahead of them or that have come down from the Premier League, I do think will finish ahead of them. They only dropped 3 positions, and that's only because of how much stronger the championship is. However, Millwall fans will like this. I've got Millwall to win the playoffs. Millwall are the team I'm going to back to win the playoffs, and solely because if Millwall don't go up this season, then I honestly have no clue when they will do it, to be brutally honest with you. I thought end of last season, Millwall were going to be the team to do it, and I backed them in the playoff semi-finals as well, but Hull had other ideas. Millwall can do it. Millwall can do it. It's whether the team under Alex Neil can now show that for a second season running after how agonisingly close they were last season, only being pipped to second place by Ipswich. Last season was very good for Millwall, and it was their first top 6 finish since 2002. Kept hold of star players such as Tristan Kramer, who I highly rate, by the way, Ian Leonard, Femi Aziz. Up front with Mihailo Ivanovic and Josh Coburn. They've added in some additions as well, so that's what I mean. The squad depth is there for Millwall. They've hardly lost anyone important either, so yeah, I fully expect Millwall to be up there again. And thank you, by the way, Millwall, for Wes Harding. It's a pleasure. Up the Argyle. Millwall comes 6th, Millwall 6th, and Millwall are my playoff winners to get their debut Premier League season. In 5th, I have Wolves. Another surprising shout to some people, considering the squad they have going into this season is, fair to say, quite a bit ridiculous, to be brutally honest with you. And they've hardly lost anyone apart from João Gomez going to Aston Villa. They have brought in Premier League quality into the Championship this season, such as Raul Jimenez and Kieran Trippier, which, to be fair, is massive for Wolves. And on paper, I should be putting them so much higher, at least 3rd. But I'm not a fan of the manager they've brought in. And also off-field things happening for Wolves prior to this season as well. This is their first Championship season since their amazing 2017-18 season. They've had 8 years in the Premier League ever since then. But I don't think it'll be that straightforward for Wolves, to be brutally honest with you. The team is there because a lot of them have had experience, especially in the Premier League. Jose Sarr, for example, being one of them. Kieran Trippier, Raul Jimenez, Hwang Hee-Chang, Mateus Mane, Andre, Santiago Bueno. On paper, this team should be doing so much better, and that's probably why a lot of people have them second favourites. They are the bookies' second favourites behind West Ham, and a lot of people, unsurprisingly, have them either second or third as a result of that as well. But I'm not a huge fan of the manager they brought in. I'm not a huge fan of Cesar Peixoto. That is Wolves' new manager. Kieran Trippier signed for the club. Yes, I know on paper it's a fantastic signing and quality for the Championship, but Kieran Trippier's reason that he signed for Wolves was because the then manager, Rob Edwards, convinced him to join the club. And that was the main and sole reason why Trippier joined the club. But as soon as Trippier joined the club, Rob Edwards left. And Kieran Trippier was on the verge of not being signed for Wolves. He wanted to turn it down because he signed for Rob Edwards. But it looks like they've put that aside for now. Whether that rages on, I don't know. But Wolves have had a bunch of off-field problems. Given the players they do have and the quality they do possess, especially with signing Raul Jimenez. Raul Jimenez is one of my tips to be top goal scorer this season. I'm very stuck between him, Jared Bowen, and Southampton's Kyle Larin. But yes, on paper, Wolves' team should be doing so much better. I'm just not sure about the manager they've appointed having a fresh start and trying to rebuild this entire team after last season's nightmare Wolves had. And also, given that it's a new style of play that these players have got to adjust to, and the off-field problems that Wolves have been having, and the fans having a meltdown relationship with the current ownership that they want gone, I don't think this season will be that easy for Wolves, to be brutally honest with you. I'm fully expecting them to get top 8 easily, no debate whatsoever, especially with the team they have. I'll be shell-shocked if they finish any lower than 5th, to be honest with you. But I don't think it will be that straightforward, given the reasons I have just said just then. So that's that, really. And to be fair, they haven't really lost anyone other than João Gomez going to Aston Villa. Wolves come 5th.
Well, that was absolutely...
In 4th, I've got Middlesbrough. This was a toughie as well, because back in June and July, I wasn't convinced on Boro in the slightest to improve from last season. Hayden Hackney's gone to Everton in that time as well. A massive blow to Boro, and Dale Fry going to Birmingham alongside that as well. Because of all this, Derby were in my top 6. But then Radek Vitek's arrived from Bristol City. A fantastic signing in goal. Boro have been looking for a new keeper for years as well. And I mean years, because of the absolute dross they've had to do with Sol Bryn and Seny Dien in goal. So this is a massive upgrade already for Kim Hellberg's side. The man who was Oxford's talisman up front joins Boro this season, Will Lancashire. A fantastic signing. I highly rated him at Oxford last season, who of course got relegated to League One, and now this is Lancashire's chance to make that big step up and go for not just promotion but playoffs as well for Boro. I know Boro's target will be promotion anyways, given how disappointing last season ended for Kim Hellberg's side. But no, that is a great signing for Boro, I have to be brutally honest with you. And he did score in their FA Cup win over Wrexham as well. So he has hit the ground running already, Will Lancashire. And of course, with Hayden Hackney going to Everton, who was, in my opinion, the backbone of that Middlesbrough team, Boro knew they had to replace him. And I think it's fair to say they've already done that. They've signed Sebastian Berhalter, an American who is good friends with Aidan Morris, who is already at the club with Boro. And Aidan Morris is actually one of Boro's standout players, I have to say. So I do think those two can work together really well, I have to say. And they've got rid of some members of the team that I don't think would get into Boro's team anymore. So I do think they've massively upgraded. And I have to say, Kim Hellberg, I think, is one of the best managers in the Championship. The top 4 I have for this predictions are, in my opinion, the 4 best managers in the league. And that is why I have got them as my top 4. And obviously got given the playoff final after Southampton's cheating. Middlesbrough know they will want revenge from all this, and to push further and get that top 2. And yes, I may in some areas do think they're slightly overhyped. But in a way, now, compared to June and July, yes, I'd say they're far too overhyped. But now I understand why. I do understand why, I have to be honest. And Hellberg is a very good manager. Don't be surprised if they do one better this season and get autos. But we will see. 2 teams, though, I do think are stronger than Boro. Well, 3 teams even, as I've got them 4th. And here's my other shout. I know I've got them to come 4th instead of 3rd. But Boro, I've got to get to the playoff final. But I do think they'll lose the playoff final in typical Middlesbrough fashion to Millwall. Middlesbrough 4th.
Let's be having you!
In 3rd, I've got Norwich. And the same reason as Boro. The same reason as Boro, because of their manager. Philippe Clement, what a manager. I don't think there's any manager in the Championship that is more loving and united for a football club towards a manager than Norwich with Philippe Clement. He has been outstanding. When he took over from Norwich, Norwich was second bottom in the Championship. They were really struggling. They were on course to be in League One for the first time in years. In comes Philippe Clement, and they have just turned the entire club around from being divided to united. They've signed Andre Brooks from Sheffield United, brilliant signing, and Sam Field from QPR, brilliant signing. The players that have left Norwich, such as Shane Long and Emiliano Marcondes, I honestly don't think they need. Norwich, I feel, will be backed heavily in the January transfer window to improve on the quality that they currently have as well, alongside all this. Maybe on paper, I prefer Boro's team to Norwich's, and definitely on paper, I have to be honest, I prefer Wolves' team to Norwich's, but it's Norwich's manager on why I think they will be higher than Wolves, and why I think they will pip Middlesbrough, but also why Middlesbrough and Norwich are both in my top 4 for my predictions this season, because these 2 managers, Kim Hellberg and Philippe Clement, are 2 of the 4 best managers in the Championship for me right now, with Tonda and Nuno Espirito Santo. But like Boro, Norwich will run automatics close, in my opinion, and it's because of one man, Philippe Clement. Unlike Boro, though, I haven't got Norwich to get to the playoff final, and sad to say for Norwich fans, I have got Millwall to knock them out of the playoff semi-finals, for Millwall to face Middlesbrough in the playoff final. But I am expecting them to run top 2 close. Norwich in 3rd.
What the fuck do you think you're doing? Spying on me? Spying? Is that how you get your kicks?
In 2nd, I've got Southampton. Again, Tonda, what a manager. I know it feels a little bit tainted given Spygate and has given the Saints a -4 deduction going into this season, but that doesn't change the fact for me of the talents that Tonda has as a manager and the quality that that Saints team have. Southampton are in the Championship for another season after what happened with Spygates and Tonda falling out with the FA and starting with a -4 deduction. So, yes, because of all these factors, yes, there is huge pressure on Saints. Without the -4 and without Eckert Spygate, he is one hell of a manager. One hell of a manager. The form last season showed it. The form last season showed it in the Championship, and they nearly knocked Man City out of the FA Cup. And had they done so, they would have faced Chelsea in the final. And they knocked Arsenal out of the FA Cup, Southampton, who are the best team in the country right now. Saints will be villains this season, especially against Middlesbrough, what I've mentally called the Spygate derby, even though it's obviously not a derby. But they need a siege mentality. And with one, in my opinion, they're comfortably a top 2 side. They've retained Daniel Peretz, who in my opinion is the best keeper in the league. Kyle Larin being retained is vital. And he's my tip to be potential top goal scorer for the Championship this season. However, they have lost, like Boro, they have lost one of their main midfielders. Shea Charles has gone to Fulham. But I have to say, I don't think he'll be much of a miss, to be honest, because Southampton have quality and options elsewhere anyways. They definitely get top 2 for me. It just depends on how they respond from their -4 deduction. I think they'll be like Blades in 24-25. They'll respond to it fine. Southampton comes second.
Happy New Year!
Which means I've got West Ham to come first and win the league, which, to be honest, is absolutely no surprises why. They're the firm favourites for this season, and it's absolutely understandably rightfully so, in my pocket's eyes, in all honesty. I know Somerville's gone, I know Mateus Fernandes has gone, but they'll be absolutely fine without them. They've retained Nuno Espirito Santo, who knows how to get promoted from this league. And of course, when he did it with Wolves, they finished 7th the next year and got Europa League football. They've retained him, and they've also retained Jared Bowen, who is staying for this season, and that is absolutely huge. This is one of the only leagues where I am absolutely agreeing with the bookies on who the favourites are. This is the second predictions video after the National League South where I've backed the favourites. And yeah, if they don't win the league, I will be shell-shocked. If they don't win the league, I will be absolutely embarrassed, even though, of course, West Ham fans won't care if they get second because it is automatic promotion anyway. But I'm sorry, that team is far too good for the Championship this season. I mean, far too good. If they don't go up, I will be so surprised. This reminds me of Leicester 2023-24, Newcastle 2009-10, Newcastle 2016-17. If they don't go immediately back up, it will be an embarrassment. The Irons look a firm favourite, and rightfully so, with a mix of good Premier League players, recent second-tier stars, and emerging academy prospects, all under a top boss in Nuno. 100% champions for me. I will say, though, I don't think West Ham will win the home form table, because I do think a lot of teams will come to the Olympic Stadium and think that West Ham is their cup final, and they try and get that mentality to get at least a point coming out of that stadium. But West Ham are my favourites to win the away form table, so that's that. I'm going to back Norwich to win the home form table, because other than last season, they are usually very, very strong at Carrow Road. And this season, I think they will return to their usual selves and be really strong at home. I'm going to back Norwich to win the home form table, with Southampton second in the home form table, Wolves third. I don't think West Ham will be that good at home this season, so I think they'll come fourth in the home form table, but I think they'll absolutely rinse and romp the away form table. With Southampton second in the away form table, Middlesbrough third. I don't think Norwich or Wolves will be as strong away from home. I think Millwall will be much stronger than them away from home. Clear as day favourites, and rightfully so. West Ham first. West Ham win the league. There you have it. There you have it, guys. That is my official 2026-27 Championship predictions. I have got Watford, Lincoln and Portsmouth to get relegated. And I've got West Ham, Southampton and Millwall to get promoted, beating Middlesbrough in the playoff final. But like I said, I think Middlesbrough and Norwich will run West Ham and Southampton close this season, but we will see. There you are, guys. That is my 2026-27 Championship predictions. I hope you all enjoyed watching this one. The big one will be out soon, where I think Argyle will finish. My 2026-27 League One predictions. Whew. We will find out soon. Thank you all for watching, guys. Have a good night. Take care, and see ya.
When they pull on the green, they're all Janners.